looking at the nature of employment lately in the post and even during the COVID-19 period, a lot of concentration has been put on the employers here locally in Uganda, but it is also expedient that we look at that exported labor or the people employed outside Uganda, and yet they are Ugandans, those that we export in the different recruitment agencies. And that is where we want to focus our attention today and discuss the status quo. What is their fate right now that we are trying to move out of COVID-19 and try to gain momentum in whatever ventures that we engage in. And I'm speaking to Mr. Ibrahim Bogere, yes, right here from the Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies. We want to find out if they've actually started strategies to oversee how the people we send to the different parts of the world, how they are prevailing in this particular period now that we are trying as much as possible to live in the normal times of COVID-19. Yes, thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you so much.
My concern today, let's keep it as open as possible. Let's, if you don't mind, drawing us the picture of the status quo right now of the people that, the agencies who you oversee have employed or have recruited in the different parts of the world, in the UAE and alike.
Yes, first and foremost, I will just give you the overview of how many companies are recruiting as of now. We have around 200 registered companies before the COVID pandemic kicked in. And on average, we could externalize close to 500 external workers on a daily basis. That gives you the magnitude of how many Ugandans abroad they are working. By the time we went into this pandemic, we had over 150 Ugandans working safely deployed by licensed companies in Uganda. As you already said, the effects of COVID are obvious and, you know, it's global. Yes. Most of these people that we deployed had issues of losing employment because of COVID. As you may recall what happened in the UAE, last 3 months we lost close to 500 jobs as a result of this COVID. However, we have got some interventions as companies to mitigate on how best these people can. The fact that they couldn't be flied back because of the airspace being closed. We wrote to the respective entities in terms of the companies that are employing them. And they will really give us assurance that the Ugandans who are there employed with them, they are faring well, based on the labor laws in the UAE and other countries. All companies that were employing these Ugandans were offering them all the necessities that are required other than the salaries. Those who are affected, that they lost their jobs. In terms of shelter, in terms of food, and in terms of medication. Based on that picture, we try to write to the ministry to ensure that if there is any way how these people can be repatriated, those so that they can join in. But you have seen the challenges that we have been having in terms of how, you know, Ugandans can be repatriated back home. You have to look at the quarantine facilities, you have to look at the chartered planes, and also the environment that they are in, the other side. However, by and large, most of them that had lost jobs before have managed again after the reopening, like in UAE, to find jobs with the other companies that had already lost employees that had left the countries. So majority of these people have already been observed. They are not going to have a flux of people coming back home. Thank you. Yes.
So you actually confirming that there were some of those that were laid off,
yes,
but they've managed to get.
Definitely, that's what I'm trying to emphasize, that those who remained because of the situation that was at hand, that they couldn't come back to Uganda, have managed to get into the workforce again in the respective countries, because there are companies that had people laid off and left the country. Yes. So they remained with the gap. When they opened, there was a gap. So they opened up, and these people internally managed to get employed within. So we have a few numbers of those who are still employed and are still living in UAE, yes.
Is there direct communication or clear communication between you as the association body and the recruitment agencies, also back and forth to the different countries?
Just if I can take you back, recruitment as per se, we are having a lot of stakeholders involved, right from the government itself. We have engagements from the other parties. We have partners whom we work with. We call them recruiting agencies that we get demand orders from them. So in case of anything, there is a communication that comes from Uganda here, that is the mother company that recruited, and other company, the other side that really you work with. So you are in constant communication at any point with the people that you have moved with. Besides, as per the regulations, we are mandated to monitor, regardless of the situation that we are unable to move to these areas by virtue of COVID restrictions and the rest. We have a mechanism in place that we use to communicate and understand what is happening with every Ugandan that a company recruited through our platforms.
Okay.
Yes.
You told me previously that you talked to the line ministry.
Yes, sir.
I want to understand what are some of the recommendations you had and have you heard from them?
We wrote to the line ministry regarding the situation of the people that are there, and as a matter of fact, the matter was with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Health in regard to how this people should come back. They gave us guidelines and they set up recommendations on how Ugandans who are stranded, they have lost employment and they need to come back should follow. One of them was to register with the embassies or missions within the respective countries. And we have seen a number of repatriations so far coming back. What a candidate or a worker that has lost job and is stranded wants to come back home should do, one should engage the mission in that particular country, like in UAE and Saudi Arabia and Jordan. That's where the countries that we normally externalize. So that you register with the consulars. Once you register, they will ensure that you get a ticket, you ensure that you get the COVID tests done, and you must have also a quarantine facility secured back home, either private or public.
Because we were worried that they may not be able to have the money on them since they've not been working. Indeed, government requires that you pay for your tickets, which of course now the fares are high since there's half capacity, and also facilitating the whole quarantine period. So now that we expect they don't have enough money on them, how are you handling that? Is government ready to help them out, or this has been handled in different ways?
Yes, most of those who can't afford to pay for their quarantines, there is a provision for the public facilities that they apply, and they are given slots in different public facilities in Uganda. Then the issue of tickets, they have a contract, and these contracts, it is very clear that the employer, the other side, meets the cost of the fare ticket in such a situation that we have a pandemic. So that issue is catered for. In the event that he can't, the company that deployed from Uganda correlates with the company on the other side to ensure that the ticket is covered. So we have no problem with that.
Right.
Yeah.
But another thing we want to look at is now the whole situation. A lot of jobs have been disrupted globally, even here locally. So you expect that you're going to have a lot of work to do. Youths already do not have jobs.
Sure.
They won't come to register.
As I told you, we are over 200 companies registered here. On average, we employ over 15 people per company, and that is close to 5,000 employees who are now redundant to say they have lost jobs. 4,500 people, they are not working. So it is a very big impact that it has caused to the employment sector in Uganda. However, going forward, we are looking at following what the government is putting in place in terms of SOPs to ensure that once they open, we shall be in a position to, because we expect a lot of fluxes in terms of people coming up looking for work, not only the same skills we have been talking about. You can see most of the corporate areas have lost, they have slashed almost 3/4 of their employment. Yes, so these people will be coming for opportunities, and we are looking at really seeing how we can connect them abroad.
Okay.
Yes.
And you yourself have confirmed that, so we're going to have two challenges. First
Yes.
of all, people in many numbers. Then number two is getting them the jobs, because even globally, economic activity has been disrupted. So what are some of the things in pipeline that you're preparing so that when that time comes, you're ready to take up the big job?
Basically, that is work in progress. However, I can assure you that we are ready. Once the government comes up and tells us that they're ready to open and the space is ready to open, we're ready to really, and the opportunities are very. As we speak today, demands have started coming in from these respective destinations, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, they need workers. And I'm assuring Ugandans, once the space is very clear, we're ready to really connect them to their dream jobs. I will take you back and on the indicators of the job opportunities in this Middle East. As we know as we all know, next year, this year's Expo 2020 of Dubai was extended to next year. So that means that the jobs that were supposed to be taken this year, they are still there untouched, and they are going to recruit in massive. And also Qatar World Cup 2022 is on the way. I think as we speak today, we have already received a demand of around 50,000 Ugandans required to go and work in Qatar. So all these jobs are there for all categories, not only the same skilled ones, even the professionals will be this time be on board, and I'm sure things will get back to normal.
Okay.
Yep.
In the general sense of business, whenever there is an influx of need, people tend to want to forge around some companies and try to take advantage of the many people that may want to get recruitment opportunities abroad. How are you ready to filter?
Yes. We have been there already, and those are one of the challenges that we've been facing as a sector. There is a lot of human trafficking, and we expect that as we open up, the vice will be on the rise, given the fact of the numbers of people that will be looking for jobs. But we have come up with interventions with the stakeholders, that is the police and the Ministry of Gender and Foreign Affairs, to ensure that we build the systems in place, to ensure that there will be no people who will be passing behind the bars to get this or not. The other thing is areas like UAE, Saudi Arabia, we have built a system called the Musanet, whereby nobody can really get a visa without going through that system. So there will be no trafficking on that regard. However, areas like Dubai, where there is free visa on tourists and what, it's very difficult for now to curb, because someone will come with a visitor visa and says traveling, then on arrival, he will be seeking for jobs, or will be having another employment visa while being trafficked. Yes, but it's a work in progress. We're getting in touch with the stakeholders, especially Minister of Internal Affairs. We are sensitizing them on how to beat these cartels who are involved in trafficking in a way that we can minimize. Otherwise, this is crime, and for us, our work is to sensitize the public, tell them that these are the areas that you can, if you want to go abroad. These are the route channels that you have to go safely. Anyone who goes beyond, then that is a criminal, and the police will swing into action straight away.
Because we saw it rampantly last year.
Sure.
It's a big problem that faced the recruitment agencies, because there are some of those bad tomatoes in the basket that kept, of course, recruiting children, and they go and find problems whether they're getting employed. So we want to understand, up until today, what are some of the engagements, or how have you and government worked together to make this work easy for both you and us who participate?
Yes, actually, if you've been following the events, you should appreciate now that there is an improvement. Because before, it was rampant, as you said, but the government came up with stringent measures that have reduced this. By the time the COVID struck, we had reduced at least by maybe 70%. When you look at the bilaterals that have been signed between government to government, it doesn't allow people to pass behind. It curtails a lot of these traffickers. Then the other thing is we've put up other mechanisms. It's that anyone who should be externalized should go through training centers where we filter and follow our people. We are organized, I can see. We have a system in place that manages and regulates our deployment from the association level, company level, and also at the ministerial level. So it is really very difficult to bypass the process and the policies, yes. Yeah, sure.
Talk to me about the bilaterals that have been signed. How far are we? And before we went to COVID, what are some of those that were pending this year? Some of the countries that we are trying to bring on board to welcome our employees?
Yeah, as we speak today, we have two bilaterals that are already signed. That is between Uganda and Saudi Arabia and Jordan. We have one in pipeline that were partially signed with the United Arab Emirates, but it's still pending. And we hope that before actually we went to COVID, we had one that was aligned up with Qatar, Jordan, Qatar, Oman, and Bahrain. Those were work in progress, and hopefully, if it opens up, I think these are the countries that we think will be coming on board soon, and not forget also Turkey. Yes.
Do you think that finishing up with these bilaterals and having a good relations with these countries is the only solution to solve all the problems that are within the recruitment agencies?
Yes, bilaterals will be not only the problem solver, however, it is part of it contributes, because most of the problems in recruitment comes out of monitoring, and they make the framework of how the countries agreed. Like, if someone is in Saudi Arabia, is distressed, he has issues, does the law, does the bilateral agreements capture how this person can be represented, the other side can seek for redress in case of any problems? So if the bilaterals are very clear, looking at the interests of the Ugandan migrant worker from here, then it will really solve the problems of recruitment at least by 70%. However, there are other internal mechanisms that we have to come up with, especially like now, training and orientation of these people before they travel, effective monitoring framework, and also having labor touches on various missions that we deploy, so that if there is any issues that arises, the labor touches will be in position to address these issues, inform the relevant ministries, and also companies, these companies be accountable of their responsibilities. Yes.
And looking through that, here in Uganda, what are some of the things that we need to work on our end? Now, the bilaterals are on the other end.
Bilaterals are both.
Calling the other countries on board. And about here in our government, in the society as well, and in the agencies themselves, what are some of the loopholes or the gaps that you are trying to patch up to make work smooth?
First and foremost, we are looking at the laws. The law of anti-trafficking is a bit weak. We are seeking, at least we pray that government looked at it and at least a review is done. Because most of these people, whenever they are arrested, it is very difficult to really prosecute a trafficker by default, in the sense that, first of all, you need to make the trafficked person, the person who was trafficking, and the action on the moves. So this is really very difficult to bring together, given that most of the people are interested. The person being trafficked and the trafficker himself, they are all together. So it is difficult to correlate them and get them to book. Then secondly, we have internal mechanisms within companies. We are trying to put up a code of conduct and sensitizing our people, the players within the sector, to understand how to proceed with such matters of managing people abroad and in here. Then finally, we are coming out strongly in the media. This is what we are doing, to sensitize the public, to tell them the clear routes of how to get out of the countries through licensed companies, through laid out procedures by government, so that really they can avoid the traps of the traffickers. Yes.
And how are you restoring the faith? Because according to what social media depicts and the stories that even we, the media, have actually laid out or reported into, how are you going to restore the faith in Ugandans who think or who thought there were opportunities outside Uganda but are not sure if it is safe? How are you restoring that faith?
Well, what I can say is that anything can be said, but what is important is to get the real facts of the matter. By statistics, if you see, we have over 150,000 people working. How many cases have we received that portrays the negative images? Just by numbers. If I would externalize 110, then I have one person who have cases. Even cases here happen. Those cases of, you see, you can't control everything, whatever happens in the house or whatever. But what we are looking at is minimizing the numbers of complaints and making sure that Ugandans, those who are going outside, they are laws and they are protected by the foreign missions. And the companies that are there, here in Uganda, are brought account if anything that happens is in line with the nature of the work. Yes.
And what are we doing to widen out our marketplace for labor from the Saudi Arabia, UAE, probably going to the EU or the US? What are we doing with that bit?
Well, you've seen there are so many opportunities coming up from Canada, coming up from UK, and other countries. They need professionals. But this comes back to the government, because we as a sector, we can advocate for opening up. We can lobby where the roads are, but still it gets back to the foreign mission or the Minister of Foreign Affairs to open up and at least make sure that these opportunities can be taken up by Ugandans. If without bilaterals, without putting a clear mechanism on how Ugandans can migrate to Canada, can migrate to Europe, can migrate to these other countries where the opportunities, it is very difficult. For us here, our work is to ensure that Ugandans are given the right opportunities, but the bureaucracy and the policies and the systems are managed by government. Yes.
On the educational level, or on how our education system is it helping enough? Is it easing your work? You again have to take
To retrain.
to retrain
Yes,
people
yes.
in terms of technology and other things, because you'll agree with me that to these countries where we export labor, things have actually left us.
Yeah.
Things are world apart.
Very
so is
true.
the education system here helping, or it is actually you are having to do the work for?
We have nothing much to do with the education system here, but what we have can say that we need to do a lot of skilling. We appeal to the government if there is a way how they can, because when you really compare our people from Uganda and other countries, when they reach there and compete for these jobs, we lag a bit behind. When you look at Kenya, even you'll bear with me, when you go to Serena here, you'll find more Kenyans working as waitresses and receptionists than Ugandans. They are better skilled. So I appeal to the policy makers to really look into that area, that why really we're not good at real hands-on work. We are more of theory-oriented. Someone who passes, he has a bachelor's degree in ABCD, but when you put him at work, yes, he's completely zero, he's outsmarted by these other countries. So that is a policy issue that government will look at. However, as people in the labor sector, we advocate for, capacity building in terms of skilling. Yes, if there are some NGOs that can come up and sponsor some of these workshops and train people on how best they can pass some of these issues, it would be better for us. Yes. Yeah.
Because you talked about training, and I was thinking we have schools here. That's why I have to
Yes,
ask
yes.
and find out there's as much as we can do. But government has actually tried through the different schemes, skilling the youth, skilling the women.
But the challenge is that the skills are not tailored to the market. Yes, otherwise, if they could really find out that what is required in UAE, we need to get people who are doing masons, we need to take people who are doing AC, technical work, and all this kind of stuff. Then they train people tailored to the market, then it will be okay. However, people train and they end up nowhere. Yes.
For here and not preparing them for
And there are also other areas like this operational wealth creation. Government is putting a lot of money into this, but if they can really involve us in this, so that we can identify these youths that need hope, that money is, because most of these other opportunities, they need some input in terms of cash, and most of these people don't have money. So instead of giving someone 5 million to buy a border, at least you can align with commercial banks, put that money in the bank. Then if someone gets an opportunity to work for 2-3 years, he accesses this money, then he goes and works, and then he remits money for others. So that is a revival fund also within the sector. Yes.
Okay, so I'm actually glad that you talked about that. And now let's talk going forward. You understand, we never saw COVID. Come before us. What are some of the things you expect to put in the system that can train our workers to be resilient in case some of these things happen? Away from the SOPs, what are some of the things that I want to implement that can prepare us for disasters? In terms of that,
well,
we need to learn from the
well. For us, actually, we see this as an opportunity. There are many things that we are overlooking before COVID struck, but with the COVID pandemic, many things have been learned, and I think many people should be learning a lesson out of it. One of the things is that we need to be prepared, because, like I've said, we have many companies that have now over 6 months, because our lockdown started as early as February, because most of these destination countries are closed. So by February, we were not externalizing. And you can imagine, now it's August, 6 months on the road. If you don't have a contingent plan, maybe these companies will be closing, and the offices would have closed. So that is something that we should be looking at. Back to the workers, it is important that we should be also looking at how to remain relevant and productive internally in Uganda. Look at other opportunities that we can do so that we can at least remain, relevant in the market. Yes.
Before we forget, let's talk about those that had actually already applied for opportunities outside of Uganda and had probably paid. But these companies are now redundant, some of them have closed, and our airspace is closed as well. What is being done in that aspect?
Well, that is a very good question. It's glad that you brought it. In the process, we had categories of people that were affected. And that is one of the areas that we're really having problems. There are those people who had already paid, they had the tickets, and overnight this came up and the space was closed. We've been writing to the ministry and also engaging other stakeholders, including the candidates themselves, on how best we can. Because it is COVID, it's global, it's everywhere, and almost there is nothing we can do about it. However, talks has been engaged. All these people who had visas with the destination countries. As I told you, the opportunities are real enormous. There is no way that they will not be deployed. We have engaged them, and there is hope that once the space is open, those visas that are expired will be in position to be renewed and they will travel. In the instance that these people have lost interest, again, it gets back to how you relate with your people, how you talk to the workers themselves, whether they're interested, whether they can wait, or you amicably agree on how to resolve the conflicts in between. Maybe if there is a refund, because really these people pay the tickets, and most of these categories, we pay a service charge as a commission. And you have already paid the commission, you have already paid the tickets and other areas that we really go in, medical, Interpols, and clearances and all those kind of stuff. Those are expenses that you can't count off. So in the event that he has used everything and someone says, I'm not ready to travel, I need a full refund of what I put in. This is where we request the stakeholders to come up and really listen, the mediate, and see how best we can. And in addition to that, they are not working for the last 6 months. They are redundant. There is no fund. If there was a way how government could look at in how to stimulate to give us a package, that would be really important. But as you see, even the government is struggling. So we should not expect that very soon.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Let me get your last recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Again?
Let me get your last recommendation.
Recommendation is, yes, we are in COVID, and we have to be like, you have to live by examples. We have to ensure that, we protect ourselves, because, as His Excellency said, this is not time to make money, but it's time to survive. So first of all, we need to ensure that the SOPs are in place and we adhere to them. That is one thing we have to do. Then secondly, I appeal to government, because this is the way to go. However much we need to protect ourselves, we can see where the economy is going. So we appeal to the government that it should open up opportunities as other countries have done, so that we adhere to the SOPs, but we remain in business and we work. That's the only way we can really manage to really recover our economy. Then finally, I appeal to you people in the media. Whenever you have these negative stories, circulating around, it is a good practice that you come back to us and you have our side. Because not always what is said is right. Only someone can come up with a story just to speculate and, make headlines and get attraction, and maybe these people on social media get likes and all that. But when you internalize the matter deeper, it's totally a different story. So it is very important that you always get back to us and you really ask our doors, our offices are open, and you will get a word or two from us on how we have to respond on the issues at hand. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Bogere, for that. You had it right from the horse's mouth. There are a lot of challenges, but one thing to pick out is we need to live with the new normal, and the fact that we have a lot of disrupted unemployment right now in the country, and even our brothers and sisters are working in the different parts of the world, in the Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, and the like. And the situation is they're trying to mediate the situation, because there is clear communication back here at home with the agencies and of course with the companies to which they're employed abroad. And of course, you might want to think that a lot of opportunities are going to open up now that we have a lot of Ugandans that have lost jobs, so there's going to be an influx once the airport opens. You want to be clear, not to be conned. You are advised to follow the right procedure if you want to seek recruitment outside of Uganda. That is it from me. My name is Madina Okera. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned.